I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. We are in the first week of January 2025, and as we enter into the new year, I always reflect on really the changes that are going to happen in the gun industry as a whole. And there's one particular gun that I strongly believe is going to be radically changed this year, to a degree that I believe getting a hold of this gun before the changes take place is going to be your best investment when it comes to firearms this year. Well, what are we getting at here? Well, ultimately what we're looking at is in the Supreme Court case that took place in October regarding ghost guns. Ultimately, there was some verbiage. Now, they haven't made a decision on that, but there was definitely some verbiage that came from the justices that revolved around the idea that it should be illegal for anybody to buy a gun or a kit that can then be easily modified into something that is illegal. And that has ramifications. If it plays out like that, and that is the verbiage, it has ramifications that's going to affect other firearms. Then, right at the beginning of December of 2024, just a few short weeks ago, two states, New Jersey and Minnesota, filed suit against Glock because Glock, according to Minnesota and New Jersey, and according to many other people around this country, knowingly continued to produce a gun that is easily modifiable by putting a Glock switch on it into a fully automatic weapon. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that, that's not the point of this video. What the point of this video is I strongly believe, I've made a few videos about this, but not on what you should do before this happens, is I strongly believe that because now there's court cases about it, there's the Supreme Court case that's going to end up touching this. And I believe there's many states to come because New Jersey and Minnesota are saying that Glock is liable for every single one of the injuries or deaths that occurred from that firearm. And because of its easy modifications, and they continue to produce it knowing that it can be modified. So why does this make it a good investment? Well, I believe that in 2025, before you get to December of 2025, that Glock is going to be forced to change the Glock pistol. For really the first time since the invention of the Glock 17, they've made slight modifications, but a dramatic modification in their firing pin and their firing mechanism to prevent those Glock switches from going on. Now, will somebody invent another one for another gun? Sure. And could this be done to other guns? Sure. But it hasn't been. Not at the level that we're seeing with the Glock switch. So as long as they make that change, they can say, well, we tried. We at least tried to make the changes necessary. And what I believe you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with a gun kind of like a pre-74 Winchester Model 94, or kind of like a 3-screw Ruger Blackhawk or a 3-screw Colt Single Action Army, before they were forced to change these. Well, Winchester changed because they were cheap. In 74, they decided to save money and focus more on their chemical industry than on their gun industry, and they cut the 74, so pre-74s are worth a fortune. Also, 3-screw Ruger Blackhawks are worth a lot more than the new 2-screws. And what that was when you had 3 screws in it, when you had a bullet in the chamber, if something hit the back of that hammer, it would cause that bullet to fire. And after several court cases of people getting accidentally shot by the Ruger Blackhawk, they changed it. And because they changed it, you have kind of this pre-2-screw model that's just worth a little bit more. And I believe the Glocks are going to be worth a lot more if you get what I believe is going to be referred to in the future as a pre-2025 or pre-2026 Glock. Kind of like a pre-ban AR. Anytime there's changes made, especially when they're legal changes to firearms, that whatever that legislation was, is always worth quite a bit more money. So I'm going to say that I strongly believe that in 2025, your number one gun to invest in would be a Glock, because there's going to be a day, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe I am. I believe that they're going to be forced to change, because as they continue to produce the same handgun in America, you're going to continue to see these lawsuits coming forth. And one thing that I've learned about state lawsuits against manufacturing companies is they tend to revolve around the tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars when you're dealing with the death and damage of human lives. So I think they're going to be forced to change in 2025. And I think what you're going to end up with, they're going to end up in the future calling them pre-2025 Glocks or pre-2026 Glocks. And I'm going to recommend you get a old one, because then they're going to be modified and changed. And you fast forward 3 to 5 years, these pre-2025 Glocks are going to be worth a lot of money. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am, though. Not on this one, just because of the sheer volume of lawsuits that are starting to roll in. And now that we're seeing 2 state lawsuits they're going to be in the tens of billions, if not in the hundreds of billions of dollars in damages that Glock is just going to have to pay the state. And that's just 2 states. Wait till California, New York, Illinois, everybody else starts rolling in and wanting some of that money. It's going to come down hard on Glock. And the only thing they can do is make the change and say, we tried. We at least tried to make that change. And something I brought up in other videos that I'm just going to bring up here is really this idea that when you are an industry and you're producing a product, and then courts start to see and declare that your product is causing damage to human lives, oftentimes what you'll see is states suing at volumes. For example, when the state of Florida was suing Philip Morris in 2000, that lawsuit was hundreds of billions of dollars. And it ended up being reduced to like 25 billion, and then it got down to 11 billion. But, you're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. That was 25 years ago. This is not going to go well for Glock in 2025. And I believe their only choice is going to be to make changes to say, we modified our pistol so it will no longer take the current model of the popular Glock switch. Now, somebody might invent another one, and somebody might invent one for another gun, but at least they can hold up their hands and say, hey, we tried, and no longer can you hold us liable at this point until the next round comes. So there you go, man. Number one gun to invest in right now in America in 2025, I strongly believe, is a Glock. Any thoughts or insight on that, definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment and say most people watch the channel, hey, they're not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. Greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. Don't ever, ever hesitate to send that stuff in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.